Hello everyone, welcome to Milo eLearning. Today we're going to be discussing the properties of whole numbers. Now this only applies to addition and multiplication. It does not apply to subtraction and division. I'll explain to you a little later on. Now there's three properties. The first property is commutative property. In this property we can swap numbers around and the answer will still remain the same. We have the associative property. Here we associate certain numbers together and we can swap them around and the answer will still be the same. Then we have the distributive property where we distribute numbers and I'll explain how we do that. Now before we go on to the commutative, associative and distributive properties, let's get something correct first. Now if you look at the number line, on your right, you will see that there are positive numbers, and on your left, you'll see that there are negative numbers. Now, if you had to add some numbers in the example here, if I had to take 30 subtract 15, I will get 15. But this we cannot swap around. We cannot say 15 subtract 30 because we are not going to get the same answer. In the first on the left, where 30 subtract 15, we get a whole number, a positive number. Now, if we take 15 on the right, subtract 30, we get negative 15. Now, 15, positive 15, is not equal to negative 15. So this is why all these properties, the commutative, associative, and distributive, only applies to addition and multiplication. Right, we're going to move on to the next slide. So we have the commutative property, and the definition of this is that you can change the order of the numbers when adding or multiplying, and the answer will not change. Now let's look at the example. 7 plus 6 is also equal to 6 plus 7. So can you see here, we swapped the 6, we put it first, and then we put the 7 second. So 7 plus 6 is 13, and it is equal to 6 plus 7, which is also 13. Let's look at another example. If I had multiplication now, if I took 3 times 2 is equal to 2 times 3. So let's test if this is correct. So 3 times 2 is actually 6, and 2 times 3 is also 6. So we know that it is correct. So we look again at another example. So we said 56 plus 64, is it equal to 64 plus 56? Now 56 plus 64 is 120 and 64 plus 56 is also 120. So you can see that if we swap the numbers around, we still get the same answer. Let's do multiplication. 12 times 6 is equal to 6 times 12. So 12 times 6 is 72 and 6 times 12 is also 72. So you can see that swapping the numbers around doesn't make a difference because the answer will still be the same. Now let's look at the associative property. Now the definition of this is that it does not matter what set of numbers are calculated first, the answer will always remain the same. Now let's look at an example. If we had 12 plus 23 plus 34. Now if we if we grouped 12 and 23 together plus 34, is it still going to be the same as 12 staying alone and then grouping 23 plus 34? It's like, say we had three friends going to break. We had Mary, Jane, and Jennifer. So if we took Mary and Jane played together at first break and Jennifer was left alone, but at second break we had Mary and Jane and Jennifer playing together, but Mary was left alone. Okay, so now we're going to add. We're going to group 12 and 23 together, and we're going to get 35 and 34. We bring down the 34. Now here we bring down the 12 and we added the 23 and the 34, we got 57. Now, the reason why we group certain numbers together is basically to make mental addition or mental multiplication, because the associative property also applies to multiplication, easier. So which do you think it is easier to add, the 35 and the 34 or the 12 and the 57? Right, so 35 and 30 plus 34 is 69, and 12 plus 57 is also 69. So you can see that whichever numbers you group together, you're still going to get the same answer. Now let's look at multiplication. If I had 10 times 45 times 5, if I grouped the 10 and 45 together and left out the 5, so that means I put in brackets 10 times 45 and then times 5, it is also equal to 10. And if we multiplied grouping 45 times 5 together, so we put in brackets 45 times 5. So 10 times 45 is 450, so it's 450 times 5. Is it equal to, if we multiplied 45 times 5, which is 225, and then times 10. So it was 10 times 225 as opposed to 450 times 5. And both answers give you 2,250. Now we're going to look at the distributive property. Now this is when the number outside a bracket is multiplied to each number within a bracket. So if we look at 12 in brackets 4 plus 5. So what we're basically doing here is we're taking the 12 and we're multiplying it with the 4, and then the 12 we're multiplying it with the 5. So we set it out like this. We say in brackets 12 times 4 plus in brackets 12 times 5. So 12 times 4 is 48 and 12 times 5 is 60. So we get an answer of 108. Now the distributive property we mostly use when we use the breakdown method of multiplication. So let's look at the example. We have 45 times 24. Here we are going to break up the 24. So we have 45 times 20 plus 4. Now we're going to multiply the 45 with the 20 and then the 45 with the 4. So we have 45 times 20 plus 45 times 4. So we get 900 plus 180, which gives us 108. Hope you enjoyed my lesson, everyone. Enjoy your day and don't forget to like and subscribe.